Camilla Restrepo walked out of the Medellin Palace of Justice at 11:30 with the signed copy of the divorce agreement tucked inside a black leather folder. Outside, the dry March heat forced her to squint. She paused a moment on the steps, breathing calmly for the first time in 12 years. She felt neither sadness nor relief, but something stranger. The precise sensation of standing on ground that was finally hers. Andres had left 15 minutes earlier, through the other door. Not a word in the hallway, not a glance as they crossed paths. That was how the past 8 months had been. Technical conversations, signatures, emails between lawyers. The night she told him she was leaving, he only asked how much she was going to ask for. She answered, what was rightfully hers. He nodded once and went to sleep in the study. They never shared a bed again. She walked down Carrera 52 and took a taxi to El Poblado. Lucia was waiting for her at a cafe in Provenza with 2 black coffees already ordered and a face that tried not to overdo the sympathy. "It's done," Camilla said, sitting down. "And how do you feel, Cami?" "Light. For the first time in 10 years, light." Lucia smiled halfway and squeezed her hand. Then, like someone setting down a weight they'd been carrying, she lowered her voice. "Cami, I know this isn't the time, but the loan I asked you for the shop." Camilla closed her eyes for a second. 3 times that year, the same scene dressed in different clothes. "Lucia, we've already talked about this. The answer is still no. It's not even half of what you got in the divorce. It's not about the money. I've spent years pulling you out of holes you dug yourself. Not anymore." Lucia let go of her sister's hand and looked out the window. Her expression shifted just barely, a fraction of a degree, so minimal that Camilla didn't register it. "It's fine," Lucia said, and smiled again. "I'll figure it out." They had lunch without touching the subject again. They spoke about a cousin's daughter, about a trip Camilla wanted to take to Cartagena, about a film they'd seen the week before. At 2:30, Lucia stood up, kissed her sister on the forehead, and walked off toward Calle 10. Camilla stayed a while longer, alone, stirring her now cold coffee. At 7, Raphael picked her up in front of her building in a dark blue Audi A5 she had never seen before. He got out, opened the door for her, placed a hand on her waist, and gave her a kiss that lasted longer than it should have. "And this car?" she asked as she climbed in. "A lease I closed this week. Short term, low rate. I'll tell you about it later." He never did. At the restaurant, a discreet Italian place near Parque Lleras, Raphael ordered the wine without looking at the menu and filled both glasses. By the second, he eased into the subject with the naturalness of someone who had rehearsed the opening. "Camilla, listen to me. Andres is calm now, but the divorce was just signed. Men like him react late. Your personal accounts should be moved into a more protected vehicle before he gets the idea to freeze something. I can help you. I know a structure in Panama, clean, legal. My big clients use it." Camilla looked at him. 8 months since that afternoon at the tennis club, when Raphael had appeared with his racket under his arm and the perfect phrase for the perfect moment. Since then, not a single misstep, not a single off-key word. That perfection, suddenly, struck her as suspicious. "I'll think about it," she told him. Raphael didn't press. He switched topics with the same agility he had used to slip into it. While he spoke, Camilla let her gaze drop to his left wrist. A steel Rolex Submariner, new. Last week, Raphael had been wearing a different watch, a cheaper one. At 10:30, they were back at the penthouse. Raphael wanted to stay. Camilla told him she was exhausted, that tomorrow would be a long day. He accepted without arguing, kissed her forehead, and left. Camilla took off her shoes in the foyer, poured herself a glass of water, and checked her phone for the first time in 3 hours. A message from Andres, received at 21:14, unopened. She stared at it for a few seconds. Then, with her thumb, she swiped it to the left and deleted it without reading. They had already said everything. Whatever he wanted now could wait until Monday. She sat on the sofa facing the floor-to-ceiling window, the Valle de Aburrá spread out below, all light, and for the first time in years, she spoke aloud with no one listening. "It's over," she said. The phone vibrated on the table, the accountant's number. Don Humberto, 73 years old, never called after 8. She looked at the clock. 23:40, she answered. "Camilla, forgive the hour." The voice sounded tight, as if he were speaking from inside a closet. "I need you to come to my office tomorrow, first thing, without Rafael. Please, Camilla, without Rafael. There's something I have to show you in person, and it can't wait." At 7:30 in the morning, Camilla was already heading down to the building's parking garage. She hadn't slept a wink after the call. Don Humberto was expecting her first thing, but before that, she had a breakfast meeting at the Dan Carlton she couldn't cancel. 3 suppliers from Bogotá, a freshly signed contract. She'd go see him as soon as it was over. She arrived at 8. Mariana, her assistant, had already ordered coffee for everyone. At 8:50, Camilla asked for the bill and handed the corporate card to the waiter. He came back 2 minutes later with an uncomfortable look on his face. "Doctora," it was declined. "Do you have another?" She handed him a second. Declined. A third. Declined. The 3 suppliers watched her with the polite smile of people pretending not to see what they were seeing. Mariana, without a word, pulled a wad of cash from her bag and paid. Camilla said goodbye at the door with an "I'll call you later," and walked to the parking garage without looking at anyone. In the car, her hands still on the steering wheel, she dialed Andres. He picked up on the 3rd ring. "I have a lot to do today, Camilla." "Did you block my cards?" There was a brief pause. "Yes." "Without warning, Andres, in the middle of a business breakfast?" "The bank is sending you the formal letter today. The tax accountant recommended freezing the joint accounts while we reorganize everything after the divorce. It's a procedure." "It's not a procedure. It's what you do when you want to screw the other party. Think what you want." Camilla gripped the wheel. She was about to say 3 more things, but André spoke first, in a different tone, lower. "Camilla, check your personal accounts. All of them. Today." "What?" "Today." And he hung up. She stayed a moment with the phone still at her ear. Andres could be many things. A manipulator wasn't one of them. He had never used that tone in 12 years. She started the car and headed for the penthouse. She would call Don Humberto from upstairs. She didn't make it. At 11:20, Rafael buzzed the intercom. He came up without waiting to be invited. He carried a folder under his arm and a smile that was 1 size too big. "My love, I heard about the cards. A friend of yours called me." "No friend of mine called you." Rafael blinked half a second too long. "Mariana forwarded me a message. This confirms what I told you last night. Andres has started, and he's going to keep going. We need to move your savings today, Camila. I already spoke with the contact in Panama. Everything's ready. You just have to sign 2 papers." He opened the folder on the coffee table. Forms, blank spaces, boxes marked with a pencil cross. Camilla didn't look at the papers. She looked at Rafael's left wrist, the Submariner again, shining differently in the morning light. "Rafael, where did that watch come from?" "My love, I already told you. A client sold it to me used, gave me a good price." "Which client?" "One of the big ones, a developer from Envigado. You don't know him." "How much did you pay?" Rafael laughed, the wrong laugh. "Cami, are you interrogating me?" "I'm asking." 18 million. It was a bargain, I swear. A new steel submariner didn't go for less than 45 million. Camila knew because Andres had an identical one locked in the office safe. She kept staring at him without saying a word. Rafael caught on too late. "Sign the papers, Cami. We can talk about the watch after." "Rafael, I'm going to ask you to leave." "What?" "Leave. I need to think alone for a while." He picked up the folder slowly, as if picking it up could change her mind. He kissed her forehead. She didn't close her eyes. When the door shut, Camilla heard the elevator descending and released the breath she had been holding. The phone vibrated. "Lucia." "Cammy, are you okay? Mariana told me about the cards." "I'm fine." "Cammy, I'm going to say something and don't get mad. I don't like that guy. I never liked him, not since the tennis club." "I know, Lucy." "You know?" "I know." She hung up. She grabbed her keys, her bag, and went down to the parking garage again. Don Humberto's office was on the 6th floor of an old building on Calle 70. Camila took the stairs because the elevator was broken. She knocked. Don Humberto opened the door himself. He had 2 nights' worth of dark circles under his eyes. He had her sit down. He didn't offer coffee. He placed a blue folder on the table with 4 stapled pages. "Camilla, $340,000, moved in 3 transfers over the last 4 months, to an offshore account in Panama, with your authorized signature." He adjusted his glasses, looked at her dead on. "But you didn't sign it." Camilla didn't sleep. By 6 in the morning on Tuesday, she was already standing at the penthouse window, coffee in hand, Don Humberto's blue folder on the dining room table. She had read the 4 pages 9 times. Each transfer had a date, an amount, a destination account, and at the bottom, scanned, her signature. The signature was an almost perfect copy. Almost. The initial C was missing the small habitual flick Camilla had been making since high school. At 9, she sent Rafael a 2-line message. By 10:30, they were sitting at a cafe in Provenza, back table. Camilla didn't greet him. She placed the folder on the table, opened it, turned it toward him. Rafael looked at it for 3 seconds without touching it. Then he tried to smile. "My love, what is this?" "Open it." He opened it. The color drained from his face as if someone had pulled down a blind. "Camila, this is a bank error. These things happen all the time. Let me call the contact and we'll clear it up today." "Rafael, it's an error, I swear." "Rafael." He looked to one side, then the other, and switched versions without transition. "All right, I did it. But I was holding it for you, Camilla. Andres was going to sink his hands into that money the moment the divorce was signed. I moved it to protect you. I was going to tell you this week." "You were going to tell me this week?" "This week." "And why is the money in an account under your name?" Third version. He took less time to assemble it. "Because the Panama structure requires a local holder. It's a formality. The money is yours, Camilla. It was always yours. We can move it back to your name today." Camilla let him talk. When he ran out of phrases, she spoke for the first time in a low, even voice, without scratches. "Tomorrow first thing I'm going to the prosecutor's office with Don Humberto. We're going to file a report for 3 transfers with a forged signature. You have until tonight to return every dollar to my original account. If by noon tomorrow the money isn't there, the report goes in. If it is, I'll still report you, but for fewer charges." She stood up. Rafael grabbed her arm, above the elbow, harder than he realized. Camilla looked at him, looked at the hand, and pulled free with a dry, silent motion. At the next table, a woman in her 30s held a phone with both hands at chest height, recording, pretending to look at the screen. Camilla didn't look at her. She walked out of the cafe without looking at anyone. Rafael stayed seated. He asked for the check, paid in cash. He made 2 calls from the sidewalk before getting into the Audi. The first lasted 40 seconds, the second, almost 5 minutes. His face recomposed itself as he spoke. When he hung up, he no longer looked like the same man who had lost his color at the cafe. Camila drove straight to the penthouse. At 2 in the afternoon, her phone rang. Andres. "Don't hang up," he said before she said anything. "Camila, I also found strange movements. In the joint accounts and in a personal account of yours that crossed through an old deposit. That's why I blocked the cards. I didn't want you to be able to move anything until we understood what was happening. I need to see you." Camila took her time answering. "Thursday." "Thursday is too late, Camila. Thursday, Andres. Tomorrow I have to go to the prosecutor's office. The day after I need to think. Thursday at 11 in the office study, like always." "All right." There was a pause. "Camila, be careful tonight." "Careful of what?" "Careful." He hung up first this time. At 10 at night, Camila sat on the sofa, put her phone in voice recorder mode, and spoke for 11 minutes without stopping. She told Lucia everything: Don Umberto, the forged signature, the cafe, Rafael grabbing her arm, the woman recording, Andres Thursday. She told her where the blue folder was kept. She told her the computer password. She told her that if anything strange happened, to go straight to the apartment with the key she had given her 3 years earlier. She saved the audio as a draft. She didn't send it. She thought she would send it tomorrow, after the prosecutor's office, when things were calmer. She fell asleep on the sofa with the phone on her chest, still dressed. At 23:47, the intercom rang. Camila woke with a jolt. The intercom rang again, long, insistent. She sat up, went to the foyer panel, picked up the receiver. The video intercom screen was black. She checked the time of the last signal. 21:40. 2 hours and 7 minutes with no image. She dialed the extension for the night doorman. It rang 7 times, 8, 9. No one answered. Lucia woke at 8:30 with that exact unease you get when something is out of place and you don't yet know what. Every morning for years, Camila had written her at 7 with 2 words. "Good morning, Lucy," and a sun emoji. There was nothing. She checked her phone 3 times. She called her. It rang to voicemail. By 8:45, she was already in the car with the penthouse key in her pocket. The daytime doorman, the night doorman, he told her, had gone on medical leave. Let her up without announcing her. 18th floor. The apartment door was ajar. 2 centimeters, no more. Enough. Lucia pushed it with 1 finger. The living room was overturned. The console drawers open. The floor lamp knocked over. A glass shattered on the floor. She walked through without calling out, without breathing, to the master bedroom. Camila was on the floor, between the bed and the nightstand, face up. A dark stain beneath her head. Her eyes closed, her mouth barely open, a silk-cased pillow 1/2 meter away, out of place. Lucia didn't approach. She stepped into the hallway, sat on the floor with her back against the wall, dialed 123, and repeated the address 3 times, without air. Detective Mariana Salgado arrived with the forensics team at 9:40. 48 years old, short, tired, 16 years in homicide. She walked through the apartment slowly, hands in her jacket pockets, the way she always did the first time. She touched nothing. On the nightstand, a men's Patek Philippe, white gold, appraised at around 90 million. Untouched. On the foyer floor, Camila's handbag with 3 credit cards, $1,500 in cash, and the Audi keys. Untouched. Salgado paused a second in front of the bag. A thief doesn't leave cash and walk off with a necklace. "No forced entry," said the lead technician. "Lock intact. Building cameras remotely disabled at 21:40 last night. The underground parking cameras are on a different system. They weren't touched." "Those I want complete," said Salgado. from 7 at night to 6 in the morning. 20 minutes later, the forensic technician came out of the bedroom and found her in the hallway. "Detective, a second?" She lowered her voice. "There's a blunt blow to the right temple. Consistent with the corner of the nightstand, it'll match the blood marks on the marble. But there are also petechiae in the eyes and pressure marks on the septum and the lips. Asphyxiation, probably with the pillow lying there." "Both?" "Both." Salgado stood still. "What time exactly did she die?" The technician hesitated. "There's a problem, Detective. I think she died twice." Salgado didn't ask her to explain. Not yet. She filed the sentence away. Andres Moreno arrived at the sectional prosecutor's office at 11:20, summoned by a patrol officer. White shirt, gray trousers, no lawyer. He sat across from Salgado without protest. "Last night between 8 and midnight, where were you?" "At the restaurant El Herbario in Envigado. Dinner with 2 partners and an architect. We left at 11:30. After that, I drove to the finca in Rio Negro. The gate cameras registered my arrival at 12:10. Salgado looked at him a long moment. "Mr. Moreno, on Tuesday, you called your ex-wife and asked her to check her personal accounts. Why?" Andres swallowed for the first time. "Because I found 3 transfers from an old account we shared. Destination name, Rafael Duarte Gomez, Camila's current boyfriend, $340,000. Salgado showed nothing on her face. "Today at 11, we were going to see each other," Andres added, without her asking. "In the office study. We were going to cross-check the information." Salgado closed her notebook and stepped into the hallway. She asked a patrolman to bring Lucia Restrepo, who was waiting in an adjoining room. She went in, sat across from her. "Mrs. Restrepo, one question, and I know it isn't easy. Besides Rafael Duarte, was there anyone else in your sister's intimate life? Anyone she trusted deeply?" Lucia raised her eyes slowly. She took her time answering. "No one. No one but me." Friday, 7:30 in the morning. Salgado walked into the prosecutor's office with the forensic report in hand. The systems technician was waiting for her with Camila's phone plugged into a cable. "Detective, I found an audio saved as a draft. 11 minutes, recorded the night before last at 22:14. Play it." Salgado listened to the 11 minutes without moving. Camila's voice told her sister everything. Don Humberto, the forged signature, the Provenza Cafe, the squeezed arm, Andres, the Thursday meeting. When it ended, Salgado didn't speak for almost a full minute. "Sign an arrest warrant for Rafael Duarte Gomez, now." At noon, 2 plainclothes officers waited for him at the entrance to his Laurelis building. Rafael came down in sunglasses, a white shirt, and a small suitcase in hand. He was heading to the airport. He didn't resist. He let himself be cuffed with a faint smile, one of those he still thought served him some purpose. In the interrogation room, he sat with his legs crossed, his cuffed hands resting on his thigh. Salgado came in with a folder, sat across from him. "Mr. Duarte, where were you Wednesday between 9 and 2 in the morning?" "Having dinner with a friend at a restaurant on Calle 70. After that, drinks at the bar next door. I dropped him at his place around 1:30. Then I drove to my apartment and slept." The friend's name, Juan Camilo Restrepo Villa. He's already given his statement, 2 hours ago. Rafael didn't blink. Salgado opened the folder. "First, fingerprint analysis. Your right index finger appears on the inside face of the doorknob of Camila Restrepo's master bedroom, on the inside face. No one puts their hand there from the outside. Second, $340,000 in 3 transfers with a forged signature, destination account, under your name. Panama confirmed this morning. Third, video from the parking lot of the bar where you were on Wednesday. Minute 47. You hand an envelope to Juan Camilo Restrepo. He opens it, closes it, pockets it. 500,000 pesos, Juan Camilo told us, in exchange for the alibi. Rafael looked at the 3 pages the way one looks at a diagnosis. When he lifted his face, something in him was no longer there. I didn't kill her. His voice came out low, different. I didn't go in that night. The print says you did. The print is from 3 weeks ago. I opened that door hundreds of times, detective. I lived there on weekends. Salgado waited. The money I did take. I was going to give it back. I swear on my mother, I was going to give it back last night. And Wednesday night? Rafael breathed deep. I hired someone, but just to scare her. So he'd go in, find the laptop and destroy it. She had evidence on it, emails, screenshots. I told him, break the computer, take the jewelry to make it look like a burglary, get out. I never told him to touch her. I told him word for word, if she wakes up, run. Name, Byron Sepulveda. He lives in Bello. I paid him 8 million in cash. Salgado left the room without closing the folder. At 5 in the afternoon, 2 units took a house in the Nikia neighborhood. Byron Sepulveda, 32 years old, priors for aggravated theft and illegal weapons possession, was watching a match with a beer in his hand. In the trunk of the Renault Logan parked outside, inside an Adidas duffel bag, were Camila Restrepo's jewels. An emerald necklace, 2 bracelets, 4 rings, and a Cartier watch. Byron didn't fight. In the patrol car, looking out the window, he said quietly, I knew this was going to get tangled up. By 7:30, Salgado had him sitting across from her. He talked fast. No lawyer, no deal requested. He came in through the service door, forced the lock with a pick in 2 minutes. He found the computer in the study and smashed it against the floor. The woman woke up, came out into the hallway, screamed. He panicked, shoved her with both hands. She fell backward and struck her temple against the edge of the nightstand. She bled. He waited a second. He saw she was breathing. He filled the bag with the jewelry, took the man's watch, looked at it, set it back on the nightstand. One that expensive you don't steal, detective. It leaves a mark. And left the way he came. Exact time of exit, 12:42. I looked at my phone in the car. Was she breathing when you left? Detective. She was alive when I walked out, I swear it. Salgado stood up without answering. She walked to the analysis room and asked for the building's underground parking recordings. The technician put the tape on the big screen, fast-forwarded to 042. Byron came out through the pedestrian ramp, no car. He kept fast-forwarding. At 1:18 in the morning, a white Mazda entered the visitor parking. It parked in Bay 12. One person got out. A woman. Dark cap, long jacket, hair tied back. She walked toward the service elevator without looking at the camera. The technician zoomed in. Salgado stood still. Saturday. Lucia Restrepo walked into the prosecutor's office at 10 in the morning, summoned to sign the final statement and close out her involvement in the case. She arrived with a handkerchief in her hand, her face undone. 15 minutes later, she sat across from Salgado. The detective had 3 pages face down on the desk. Mrs. Restrepo, before you sign, I want to go over a few things with you. Formality. Of course. Salgado turned over the first page. An enlarged photo, black and white, grainy but sharp. A woman stepping out of the white Mazda in the visitor parking. Timestamp, 01:18, Thursday. That car is registered under your husband's name, Mateo Acosta. That woman is you. Lucia looked at the photo. She shook her head very slowly. That isn't me. Mrs. Restrepo. That isn't me. Salgado turned over the second page. Camila Restrepo's life insurance policy. $1,200,000. Secondary beneficiary in the event of death. Lucia Restrepo Alvarez. Signed 4 years ago. Active. Lucia didn't look at the page this time. Salgado turned over the third. 380 million pesos loaned to you in Itagüí at 12% monthly, 2 months overdue. The man who lent it to you is named Freddy Gallego, and he told us everything yesterday. He gave you 2 options: pay or face the consequences. Lucia placed both hands on the desk. She left them there. She didn't cry. She stared at a spot on the wall, a clean spot, no paintings. She spoke very softly. Rafael called me Wednesday at 6 in the evening, desperate. He told me Camilla was going to report him, that we were both going to lose everything. He asked me to talk to her. I told him Camilla wasn't going to listen to me. He told me then he was going to do something else. He didn't tell me what. I didn't ask. She breathed without moving her shoulders. At 12:30 at night, he wrote me on WhatsApp. The guy already left. He hit her by accident. She's alive but hurt. Call an ambulance from a family phone so they don't trace it. He sent me the address. I already knew the address. You didn't call the ambulance. I didn't call the ambulance. Silence. I went up with the key Cami gave me 3 years ago. I walked into the bedroom. She was on the floor. She was breathing. Her temple was split open, but she was breathing. I knew her. She was going to pull through. Her voice broke once. She recovered the tone at once. I knelt beside her. I said, Cami, Cami. She didn't answer. I thought about Freddy's money, about my son, about the 34 years I'd spent being the sister who always asks. I thought that if I called the ambulance, Cami would wake up, tell everything, the policy wouldn't pay out, and Freddy would kill us all. I thought all of that in 1 minute, and then I picked up the pillow. Salgado asked her no more questions. The trial came after. 3 sentences, read out by the same judge on different days. Byron Sepulveda, 14 years for manslaughter and aggravated theft, with a reduction for cooperation. Rafael Duarte Gomez, 28 years for aggravated fraud, criminal conspiracy, and attempted homicide. Lucia Restrepo Alvarez, 40 years for aggravated homicide for economic purposes, no possibility of parole until serving 30. Andres Moreno went only to Lucia's hearing. He sat in the last row. When the judge read the sentence, Lucia searched for him with her eyes. Andres didn't hold the gaze. A month later, on a cold Sunday, Andres walked up to Campos de Paz Cemetery with a white orchid. Camilla's grave was in the upper section, with a view of the valley. He placed the orchid on the marble. He stood a while, hands in his coat pockets. I blocked the cards to protect you, Cami. I'd already seen the movements. I thought we had time. He said it without tears. A single sentence in a low voice, and fell silent. He walked down to the parking lot. In the car, he took out his phone. He opened the voice messages he had recorded and never sent. There was one from Tuesday at 21:14, 46 seconds. This time he listened all the way through. His own voice, small, hesitating at every syllable. Cami, it's Andres. I need to see you before Thursday. Today I went through the statements again, and there's something I haven't told you. Rafael isn't alone in this. I think your sister is in something very serious. Call me when you can. Andres kept his finger on the button a long moment. Then he pressed. The message deleted without asking.